Lesson 1.2 is on the power of a power. So the first 5 questions are just a little bit more on what we learned in the last video. So we'll see if you remember how to do this stuff. In question number 1, the directions ask us to simplify each expression and then write your answer in exponential notation. So in question number 1, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually figure out what the numerator is first. So if you guys notice, you have 4 to the second power. Oops, let's not use that color. We've got 4 to the second power, 4 to the seventh power, and then 4 to the first power. And hopefully you remember that when you multiply, you should always add your exponents. So you end up getting 4 to the 10th power. Okay? And then in the denominator, you have 4 to the third power, 4 to the first, and 4 to the fourth power. So if you multiply those together, you should add your exponents again, which means that you should add a 3, a 1, an invisible 1 here, and a 4 right there. So you end up getting 4 to the, 3 plus 1 is 4, plus another 4 is 8. So you end up getting 4 to the second power. And then the question asks us to leave the answer in exponential notation. So there we go, we're done with that question. All right. So number 2, I want you to figure out on your own, this should be 1/4 to the what power divided by 1/4 to the what power. Please press pause, see if you can figure out what the powers are going to be for the numerator and the denominator, and then come back to see how you did. Okay, in the numerator, you should get to the third power, to the first power, to the second power. So when you add those 3 numbers together, you end up getting to the 6th power. And then in the denominator, you have 3 invisible 1s, so 1 plus 1 plus 1 is to the third power. So your final answer for this one is going to be 1/4 all raised to the third power. Remember, you need to have parentheses around 1/4 because it is the entire number that's being raised to the third power. All right, so now number 3 is a little bit more complicated. Let's see how you do with number 3. Remember, we have to deal with our coefficients first. So in this example, our coefficients are 3, 5, and 6. So I'm going to multiply 3 by 5 by 6, but I can multiply them in any order I want. So I'm actually going to multiply the 5 by the 6 first because it's easier for me. So 5 times 6 is 30. Multiply that by another 3, you end up getting 90. Okay, so my numerator has 90 as my coefficient. Now I have x to the 4th power and x to the 6th power. So when I multiply those together, you add the exponents, so you get x to the 10th power. Notice how I did not add this y to the 3rd power in with the x to the 10th power because they are not the same basis. So I can't multiply those guys together. So I end up getting y to the 3rd power right here. And then I'll do the same thing for my denominator. So my coefficients are 2, 3, and 5. So again, you can multiply these in any order you want. I'm going to do 2 times 5, which is 10, and then multiply that by another 3, you end up getting 30. So this right here will be 30. And then I'll look at my x's. So I've got x squared. There's nothing else to multiply x squared by, so I'm going to write it down. And then I have y to the 1st and y to the 3rd, which ends up giving you y to the 4th power. Okay, so then when you divide it all out, you end up getting 90 divided by 30 gives you 3. And then when you divide these guys right here, remember when you divide, you should subtract your exponents, so you end up getting x to the 8th power. And then over here, when you subtract these exponents, you end up getting y to the negative 1st power. Eventually, we will talk about what to do to deal with negative exponents, but for right now, we're just going to leave it as y to the negative 1st power. All right, so let's take a look at number 4 now. Number 4, you should easily be able to figure out the numerator and the denominator. So go ahead and figure out what you think should go in the numerator and what you think should go in the denominator, then divide it out and see how you do. So do all of number 4, press pause, and then come back to me. Okay, so in the numerator, you should end up getting 6 to the 12th power because 7 plus 3 is 10, plus another 2 is 12. Okay, and then in the denominator, you should get 6 to the 10th power because this invisible 1 plus 4 is 5, plus another 5 is 10. Divide it all out. When you divide, you should subtract your exponents, so you end up getting 6 to the 2nd power, and that's your final answer. Okay, let's do number 5 together, and then we will move on. This is, again, all review of what we've done before. So here, same thing, I'm just going to look at my coefficients to begin with. So I have 4 and 9 as my coefficients. When you multiply those guys together, you end up getting 36, okay? And then we're going to multiply our a to the 4th and our a to the 3rd, which gives you a to the 7th power, okay? And then we end up getting b to the 5th power, because there's no other b's to multiply this b to the 5th power by, so there's only 5 b's being multiplied together. Then in the denominator, I'm going to multiply my coefficients, so I end up getting 12. Okay, then I'm going to multiply my a's together, so I get a to the 4th power because 2 plus 2 is 4. And then I'm going to just write this b squared down right here. Now I can go ahead and do my division. 36 divided by 12 gives you 3. A to the 7th divided by a to the 4th gives you a to the 3rd. And then b to the 5th divided by b to the 2nd gives you b to the 3rd. And then that's your final answer. Okay, it's just a coincidence that they all have 3's in them. All right, so now let's move on to something new. What does 2 to the 4th power all raised to the 3rd power mean? Well, 2 to the 4th power, you guys know, means it's just 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, right? But if I'm raising it to the 3rd power, it means I'm going to take 2 to the 4th power and multiply it by itself 3 times. So it's going to be 2 to the 4th power times 2 to the 4th power times 2 to the 4th power, which ends up giving me, remember, you can always just add your exponents. So 4 plus 4 plus 4 is 2 to the 12th power. Now, hopefully, you notice something about your exponents right here. When we had 2 to the 4th power all being raised to the 3rd power, think about what it is that we could possibly do with the 4 and the 3 as a shortcut to get to this 12, okay? And then let's do the same thing for number 7. Let's try it one more time, and let's see if your shortcut works for number 7 as well. So n to the 2nd power raised to the 5th power means I'm going to multiply n to the 2nd power by itself 5 times. Just like this. So I end up getting n to the 10th power because 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 10. Did your shortcut that you thought we should have worked? What could you do with the 2 and the 5 right here to get this 10 right here? Hopefully you notice that whenever you have a power raised to a power, and I'll explain to you what that means in a second. So here's an example of a power raised to a power. Here's your first power, and it's being raised to a second power, right? And up here, again, here's your first power. It's being raised to a second power. Whenever you have a power raised to a power, you must, what? What do you think you should do? Hopefully you wrote down that you should multiply the exponents. Okay, so look right here. If I multiply this 4 by this 3, do I get 12? Absolutely. If I multiply this 2 by this 5, do I get 10? Yes, I do. Now, a lot of people will get these two expressions mixed up with each other. Please be careful not to get these mixed up. If I have, for example, x to the 3rd power times x to the 5th power, that would be x to the 8th power, because these right here, we're multiplying them. We're not raising a power to a power. But if I have x to the 3rd power raised to the 5th power, then we would get x to the 15th power, okay? So let's fill this out. When you raise a power to a power, keep the base and multiply the exponents. So basically, if I have a to the mth power all raised to the nth power, that means it's just going to be a to the mn power. Okay? All right, so let's look at the directions right here. Simplify each expression, write your answer in exponential form. So number 1, I've got 15 raised to the 3rd power all raised to the 9th power. So you should end up getting 15 to the 27th power because 3 times 9 is 27. Okay? Please try questions 10 and 11 and then come back to me to see how you did. All right, number 10, you should get negative 2 raised to the 40th power because 5 times 8 is 40. And in number 11, you should end up getting a to the 68th power because 17 times 4 is 68. And that's the lesson.